Hello and welcome back everybody, I'm OnePropBarbarian and this is still Through the Darkest of Times, where we are in 1933 to be more precise. It is the 12th April of 1933 and we're still of course leading a resistance force. Now we have an injured here, Johanna Esser, one of the main members of this group are being injured. As someone pointed out in the comments, and this is actually a very good thing that I missed in the last episode, that the person that was fired for supposedly voting communist is actually a Catholic, meaning we were in a situation where that was kind of weird. There are some bugs here when it comes to the game assigning certain backstories to characters, from what I can tell, and I think it is what it is. You know, we just gotta kind of look over that, I guess. We did play and we did start the save in a pre-release version. I have heard that that has changed, but we are still kind of in the situation. But that aside, let's just continue our struggle. I noticed when studying the map that obviously these are the big chapter decisions, right? The Great Escape, where we can help some people to get out of an SA torture camp. Then we have The Truth Will Set Them Free. We'll hoist a giant banner with a slogan on the highest warehouse at Alexanderplatz and spread critical leaflets all around it. If enough people know what's really happening, they will start to resist and stop the regime. And then, last but not least, we have Where It Hurts. We could sabotage the Nazis' propaganda exhibition in a spectacular act. This will be a call for all resistance fighters to join forces and fight against the regime no matter the cost. So the way I see it is, we want to go through with those, but of course we have to plan for them. You can see that here we need an SR uniform, here we need some critical leaflets, and over here we need a fire device. So I looked around. This up here will be a huge thing because we need both the gasoline and the industrial equipment, whatever that actually means. But for that, we need some leaflets, which we don't currently have, but can create in this workshop if we go ahead and buy some paper. So what we're gonna do is, first of all, I'm gonna send someone by the name of Arthur Friedrich over here. God, 30 mark. Why is it so expensive? You're gonna have a good time calming the heat that you have down. Johanna Esser can, I think, do something a bit more relaxing. What about talk to workers? Sure, there you go, Johanna. This doesn't look good. So apparently, the result that comes out of it is not always like this. It doesn't really differ. I'm going to send Hans Reck instead in that case. He's much better with this. Look at this. He is traumatized as well. Interesting. I'm going to send him. I'm going to give him the bicycle as well, just so that it actually does not fail, because I want to unlock the Observe SR activities and then steal funds and steal an SR uniform so that we can actually proceed into later missions. I won't miss Papen. No one will. Yet the circumstances of him leaving are bad. Papen did just resign in a game, and I think we want to buy some paint. It says buying paint. I don't know why, but this should mean buying paper. Can you buy paper? God, you're terrible at everything because you're injured, aren't you? We need 20 bucks. Will give us a couple of papers. Man, I would like more paper. I could instead just take this and get a random reward from it. We don't actually know how much, but it's cheaper, I suppose. It would have to be a negotiator. We do not have any negotiators, if I'm not mistaken here. We have a leader, though. Maybe I should just buy this, because Johanna is a really important member here when it comes to doing things. Buying medicine. Wait. There you go. I think I'm just gonna buy one pack of medicine. Can you do this better, maybe? No? Ah, damn it. I don't really want to spend the time of 2 people there, I have to admit. I just don't feel comfortable with it, when we could be doing other things. What about observers activities over here as well? We just don't have the money, I suppose. I think we're gonna go ahead and maybe recruit some more people. Oh, I'm not actually a good fit for that, huh? There you go. Okay, that's... Wait, how would Johanna do? Okay, so if you're injured, you are horrible at everything. Good God. Actually atrocious. I think I want some more supporters, and then we're gonna gather some more money. The rest we can focus on whenever the next time rolls around. There you go. Actually, didn't we have a better spot to gather money, this one? Yeah, that makes more money. There you go. Easy. Alright, and with that, everyone is taken care of. And I think we can proceed here. We're gonna move on further and further into being able to do these. I just want to make sure that we have enough supporters and enough money to always, you know, carry on at least one task every turn. I don't actually know how long this chapter is. That's a bit of the issue here. And I don't know if I have to do all of the tasks. We lost 2 supporters. We gained 14 mark. Thank you very much. Arthur Friedrich, did you get rid of everything here? Nobody knows when he returns. He feels much safer than before. Wonderful. Brings up the morale, of course, as well. Oh, come on, really? I'm gonna enforce this. Get out of here. Let's do whatever it takes. They calm down and everything is good. I still, again, I don't think I will ever get this mechanic. That is very loud. And Guido thinks he has been seen. This mechanic reminds me of a lot of We the Revolution, where the map fights were going on, because it was quite, you know, the opposite of transparent. It was a mechanic that kind of worked out whenever you did it, but you never fully understood the entirety of it. So I don't know, I'm very skeptical towards this mechanic being a good one. But hey, worked out this time, didn't it? Antonio, what are you doing? Also, the SR actually showed up. You know what? I don't want you to die here. Just hide. Maybe we don't have to abandon it. They are retreating, and I guess that was the right choice, whatever that means. 3 new supporters, that's not that many, but it is a couple of new supporters. I'll take it. How are you doing? Alright, good. Nothing in this case. No SR showing up or anything, we just did it. Wonderful. Look at that, we got more supporters, we got more morale. I think we're almost maxed out on morale, actually. Shektita banned. The Jewish practice of Shektita, the ritual slaughter of animals and the preparation of kosher food, is declared illegal. So there you go, the repressions, of course, against Jews is going into the next round. Really, they ramped it up quite quickly, historically speaking. It was something, you know, I mean, if you think about it, the Nuremberg laws, I think, if I'm not mistaken here, I could be, like, slightly off, but I believe they were 1935. Let me actually Google that. You know what? What do I have 2 screens for, huh? That was indeed 1935. Yeah, so it happened fairly quickly, only 2 years after they took over. The full, you know, segregation of society, so they moved in very, very quickly. We talked about this in previous episodes, just how quick the transformation of society actually went through. Of course, that was only possible because of the circumstances that the Nazis already found when they came to power, but all things considered, it was still incredibly rapidly, because even the most conservative ideology under the Kaiserreich, for example, differed in incredibly strongly from the ideology of the Nazis in pure. So the way this went forward was, again, quite quick. NS students begin action against the un-German spirit. In several German cities, the official organization of the NS students begins its actions against the un-German spirit by publicly disparaging Jewish and progressive artists and scientists. The move against progressive art, or rather should I say alternative art, because of course, we had these very mainstream art movements that were all about, you know, realism, all about, honestly, my high school teacher would certainly not be happy with this, but I do not remember too much when it comes to the actual streams of art in, you know, the 20th century. We learned, of course, all about art history in high school, but that's been a couple of years since that came up. The action that they took against alternative art, against more modern art and modernist art, was incredibly swift as well, although I want to say that it was that it was easier than introducing the ideological hate against the Jewish people and the Sinti and Roma and so forth. Because art, you know, is something people even today look often at art and say, hey, this is not art, I don't accept that. And I don't think there's anything harmful to that point of view per se, but it was part of the integrated all-over worldview of the Nazis, and I think people very quickly took to it. I mean, it's quite easy, you know, when you see something that you just don't visually enjoy, that just isn't meant to be visually enjoyed, which often case is the art with alternative art, often is the case with modern art, then I think it is quite easy to detest it and to, you know, kind of give it a bad rap. That was something that they started very early on as well. They called it, of course, the degeneration of culture. I don't think that that is something beyond the aesthetic kind of angle that the Nazis took. It is a very, I mean, not a strange angle to take, because in the Nazi point of view, of course, art had to serve a purpose. There was a meaning behind every art piece, behind every music piece, behind every theater piece. There was a meaning, and that meaning had to serve the Volksgemeinschaft, so the German people, the way the Nazis viewed it. And I do believe that it was quite easy to get rid of art that did not serve that purpose and to justify it, because everything in the Nazi society had to, you know, exactly serve the purpose of the propagandized Volksgemeinschaft right there. Hess promoted. Rudolf Hess is appointed as the deputy Führer. Rudolf Hess is a very strange person, a very strange personality. It's, honestly, this would take literally half an hour to just go into depth about who Rudolf Hess is. He's the man, if you forgot about him completely or never heard of him, he's the man that during the war then took a plane and flew to the United Kingdom and was imprisoned there. He later on was imprisoned in Germany and died in a prison. Yeah, he did die in a prison. A very strange man, a very esoterical man, if I can believe my memory. Very difficult to evaluate, different from Himmler, for example, where it is very clear what a monster he was. Has a very strange personality. At the meeting, Arthur Friedrich grabs me excitedly and says, Inka gave birth last night. Inka Grieger has a little baby girl. That's wonderful. But also, was she that pregnant? I mean, I assume she must have been. Wonderful. I was sad to see her leave the group earlier. Now I am more than delighted to hear the news. That is good, and I assume that it brings up our morale. Yeah, indeed it does. I mean, it's good. It's just sad. Inca was a very good fighter for the resistance here, and I mean, Jesus Christ, look at this. Morale 100, that is insane. Supporters are at 52, okay. This is something that I definitely want to do. Observe as A activities. Wait a minute, did we pick up... Alright, I did not actually buy a health kit. Banning the Shakita is not right. The cheetah, I don't actually know how to pronounce it, I must admit. A supporter, Hera Batka, tells us that she knows where we can observe the SR in Köpenick. Costs 30 bucks. And needs secrecy and empathy. Would be helpful to kind of blend in, to be curious or national conservative, where, you know, you don't look strange being there. I don't think we have either of those actually in our group. That's crazy. How did that happen? Yeah, we ended up with a couple of Catholic conservatives and Christian liberals, but no national conservatives at all. Oh god, this is difficult. Yeah, this is quite difficult. Looks kind of good. I think, am I right here that adding someone that has an insane degree of heat actually brings up the danger? That is actually it, right? That's how that mechanic works, I suppose. I thought they might just snatch him away if he is at 5 or whatever, but I think it actually just has to do with the more heat there is on you, the more you are likely to just get dunked on right there. Johanna Esser is absolutely useless for this. I'm gonna use them. I'm gonna push down that a bit. Can I even... Yeah, I could theoretically, I guess, pay more people off. The leaflets are not gonna do us any favors here. Absolutely not. And the intel, I assume, won't do anything either. Yeah. Can't even assign it. I think we're gonna go with this. It is very risky, but I do want to try it. I do want to try it. Man, you're all horrible at secrecy, you know that? I wish I could put Arthur Friedrich in, but I don't think that is a wise choice. Now what we're gonna do is I will send both of you over here, because right now you are both useless to me, and then if I can... What is that? Stop doing that. If I can... Visit a museum. No, that's fine. If I can, I would like to actually buy some supplies. I do come on, man, really? Can't do anything at all. I'm just gonna leave her. I don't know if that cures her. I don't believe it does do anything for that. Maybe I can actually... What about talking to some people? Can you do that? No. Yeah, if you're injured, you're actually just screwed. I think I'm gonna send you like this. Yeah, you gotta spend money to make money or something, right? No, you can't even... I'm just gonna hope that this works out. 8 to 12, it's not that much, actually. Let's gather right here. Well... I'm gonna try it. Yes. Lost 3 supporters, that's okay, we made some money. Johanna Esser has recovered, finally. Why is it only Arthur? Oh, did we just reinforce Arthur losing points instead of also us losing points? Is that how that works? So only the primary person in the place loses? Alright, at least we made the money. That worked out quite well. Please work out. Hans Reck follows the SR in Köpenick to learn more about their plans. He finds out that some of them used to drink at a pub in Köpenick, and that one of them still regularly gets so drunk there that he nods off and stays there overnight. See how it is. We lost some supporters, morale went up incredibly high. Göring forms secret police force. Hermann Göring forms the Geheime Staatspolizei or Gestapo from the former Prussian police. The establishment of the secret service and of the state within the state, as it is called, begins right here. The SS and the Gestapo became increasingly powerful as the war went on, eventually leading to a situation where we could indeed speak of a state within a state, because both sides had control over one another instead of, you know, just having one supreme leader as it was initially in 1933. And that is the first step. Of course, I assume that this means that it also becomes increasingly dangerous for us to go through with our activities. The Führer's birthday. Adolf Hitler's 44th birthday is celebrated as a national holiday with celebrations across Germany, including parades and special church services in his honor. They're very classic personality cult. I think today we kind of underestimate just how big the personality cult truly was. Not just, of course, in Nazi Germany, also in the USSR with Stalin. We're looking at a situation, you know, today we also have a lot of situations with personality cult, and I mostly speak about Western countries here, about democracies, because that is the only frame of reference that I have. Of course, I have no idea how intense it is in other more single-minded, more dictatorship-minded countries, but in Germany and I think in Western democracies, what we understand as a personality cult isn't even close to the way the Nazis framed Adolf Hitler. I don't know how much, you know, people from outside of Germany are aware of this, because this is something, I think, a bit of a niche piece of knowledge, that Adolf Hitler in particular, of course, you know, let's not talk about his real advances when it came to women and whatnot and Eva Braun, but let's indeed talk instead about the situation that he was framed in towards German women. He was framed as the ideal husband, and I know today, you know, we look at Adolf Hitler and we say, what an absolutely ridiculous looking man. He just screams and shouts, and he has this ridiculous haircut and the beard, but the way he was framed was good with children. You know, he's essentially a good family man, he's a leader of the family, the patriarch, and he was framed in a way that even any, I'm thinking back, right, even any modern democratic leader is not even close to getting the attention. You know, they actually put women into custody if they were taken by storm and were taken too much in by Adolf Hitler. They went on and, you know, kind of threw them into a jail or into what's it called, into mental hospital, because at the end of the day, the fascination that people developed because of the personality cult with Adolf Hitler was quite intense. It was quite irrational, and it was incredibly powerful. This is no joke. Of course, why people served so willingly, even in the later years of the war, when everything came down crumbling. They all thought he will do it. You know, we've grown up with him, with knowing that he is the ideal man, the leader of the people, and the leader of the family, and we as a people are, of course, a family. It had quite the profound impact, I think, on the German psyche there. Albert Funk dead. Communist and former member of the Reichstag, Albert Funk dies at the age of 38 after being thrown from an upstairs window of a police station. Surely an accident. Toward the end of our meeting, Johanna Esser pulls me aside. Can you see Hans Reck over there in the corner? I can, yes. Can you see how his hands are shaking? Oh, is he on drugs? God, you don't see it, do you? Johanna lowers her voice. I recognize those tremors. Oh, he has shell shock. It's probably combat fatigue from the war. That was something, and this is not Germany specific. This is specific to any country that participated in the Great War, and maybe not the USA, not because the USA had a huge impact in the First Great War, but they came in a stage where the stalemate warfare kind of, you know, style of war was already over. The people that survived World War I were either invalids, or they were, you know, physical invalids, or they were mentally damaged. Primarily because it was absolute hell to just be a week at the front. I mean, this is an entirely different topic, and I would, if you don't know about this channel, but I assume everybody knows about it, it's called The Great War, right? Where somebody on YouTube, they did this really good project, an amazing project, where they went through the Great War, I think about week by week, sometimes they did more videos, and they, you know, just explained what the people were experiencing, how it went. It was a very, very good series. I can only recommend it. And the trauma that was implemented and kind of given to almost everyone in that generation stayed with the people throughout their entire life. World War II, of course, similar traumas, traumata, but the warfare in World War II was one of primarily movement. It only changed in the later phases of the war, so 1942 until 1945, that we experienced a war that actually was sitting, you know, fairly similar, although not equal, to the very kind of constant drawn-out warfare, where you just would, you know, one day it would just progress for 100 meters and then you would have to fall back again in World War I. And the intensity of that stayed with the people. It damaged an entire generation, if not, you know, even 2 or 3 if you pull them all together. And damn, Hans Reck appears to be in that situation. Are you sure? I've been watching him for a while now. Look, I don't hold it against him. Tons of people came back from the war damaged. I just don't trust him. Excuse me? We are not abandoning him. Even if he is fighting this, it doesn't mean we can't trust him. I say, I'm not kicking him out. Absolutely not. I mean, I understand the idea that Hans Reck might be someone that, you know, in the future will go against us just because he could easily be broken. People with traumata are, historically speaking, and, you know, just in general, I think, easier targets for interrogation methods of, for example, the Gestapo. But I think this is gonna go just fine. Oh lord. Steal an SA uniform. Risk very high. Steal funds from the SA. How much can you get here? Gustav Klein. Oh my god, 180? Very, very risky, of course, but good god. No, also, I lost also some points. Good. So it does work for both. Can I spend money to make money? No, of course not. Intel? Nope. Hans Reck doesn't really further this in any way. Paranoid. It's because Hans Reck is traumatized. No, that's actually not it. He just doesn't have that big of an influence, I suppose. There's a lot of money in this, but I don't know if we're gonna get that done, actually. Okay, wait a minute. Just give me a moment. We want to print leaflets because I would like to steal the SR uniform. And then with the SR uniform, actually, we don't need to print leaflets for that. With the SR uniform, I want to do the Great Escape. We need 3 of them. Good God, 3 of them, seriously. Talk to Christian community. We just get more supporters. Okay. How do I lower the difficulty of this? If I observe the SR more, does that give me any benefits? What does that do? See, I'm not sure. If I observe them, does that make this easier? And what are these levels anyway? I would like to get some more supporters, I'll be honest with you. 12 possible supporters that we could gain there. 12 here as well. Just 2, but I guess it opens up more opportunities. Spread books. I mean, we don't have any books, so I think what we're gonna do here is I'm gonna buy some paper. And I know it says paint, but what they mean is paper indeed. You're great at propaganda, but not at books. You're the best at books, I guess. Jesus. Not that good on that front. I think Inca was our strong book person, and now here we are. Why don't you take some more money? Honestly, we have so much money, I think we'll be fine. The 2 of you do that. What is this? Visit a museum. No, we're fine for the moment. So I need some paper. Then we're going to be able to print books and print critical leaflets, which I will need to push this through, and then we can actually go and buy some gasoline, which lets us produce fire devices, which then lets us do this. Oh, I could also just actually do this. Critical leaflets. Oh, wow. 64 supporters. Critical leaflets. Okay, okay. I think that's our short-term goal, because that seems very much achievable. That seems like the easiest of all of these. And I wish we could steal some SR uniforms, but that is so dangerous. Yeah, this is just, it's too dangerous. I think we're gonna instead just talk to some people here, unlock some more opportunities. Actually, let me check something. Killing dissidents and creating a secret police that'll find and kill them. Why does it feel like this is only the beginning? Well, I could tell you the answer to that, but you would not like it. Oh, I'm missing the money, seriously. Visit Nathan's store. You know what? Why don't we just, like, give this a shot, maybe? You know what? Screw it. I just want more money. I think that will do us quite well. This looks fine to me. Should I try this? I don't think I should, but let's just take a look at this. No, this does not look very good. Good God, that is a horrible option there. Please stop talking when I want to click these things. Yeah, I'm going to send you alone over here. And what are you again, a social democrat? Could I send you over here, former unionist? Yeah, look at that. Okay, we're going to do that then. Not earning any money, but I think that's okay. Oh, actually, we are earning money. Just not getting supporters except these 2. But that is very limited, of course. We lost 2, as always. We got some money, and let's see how it goes. And we are successful. Okay. Good. We are keeping ourselves afloat. Please buy a good amount. To avoid being tracked, she picks a shop in Kreuzberg where she is not known. We got 2. Okay, you know, could be better. I think we have to go buy another stack of paper just next week. People are not happy about Hitler. Hitler's ways against God, and that is, as a Christian, they should do something about the situation. Others have doubts because Hitler's might still be God's will. Right. Former unionist in Wilmersdorf to see if he could be convinced to join the resistance. Nathan Teitelbaum maintains the connection to the Social Democrats who are still opposing the regime. The trade unionist is furious about the way the regime has limited workers' rights. We talked about that in the past as well. We lost some morale, but we are so high morale. I don't care at all about that. Sturmabteilung storms unions. Trade union offices are stormed by SR brown shirts. There you go. They did establish a German trade union. And when I say a German trade union, it is very much comparable. And I actually found out just yesterday that this is not like that common knowledge. There are also, or there was also, an organization called German Christians. What the Nazis created was essentially organizations for everything that could otherwise be used as getting obligations and loyalty to a different source than the Nazis. So, for example, the trade unionists, of course, had their own, you know, situation, their own power distribution, and that was unacceptable. This was seen as an issue because you can't have a class warfare within the Volksgemeinschaft that needs to be kept together. So they destroyed that and established their own situation, which again I brought this up earlier, came with a rule set for employees and employers that was much more leader-oriented, so Führer-oriented, where essentially the employer was the leader and had to take care of his employees, but the employees had to give him the entirety of their loyalty 100% of the time. Something very similar was attempted with the German Christians. The German Christian, of course, being an organization to undermine the loyalty both inside of the Protestant community and inside of the Catholic community. We already had this, and this is something actually that I suppose began with the Kaiserreich and then continued throughout the Nazi period until they signed the Concordat with the Pope, which I'm sure will come up later at some point. But essentially what they tried to do, which Bismarck already tried to do, which the Wilhelms tried to do, was essentially getting the Pope out of German politics, and this worked for the longest time. What they attempted to do was called Kulturkampf, where they tried to oust important political factions and important political speakers and whatnot from the Christian communities and say, you cannot be loyal to the Kaiser, or in this case the Führer, and the Pope. You cannot do both. You have to have one master, and in this case it has to be the Führer, obviously. This is why they established the German Christians. This is why they established the German trade unionists. They essentially established a parallel society so that they could oust everything from the old society that they did not enjoy. And it worked out in peace times, but of course, as has been established numerous times, the economy, of course, you know, to keep a society rolling, the economy needs to be rolling as well. Otherwise, people will always try to find different solutions. And without the war, the economy would not have worked much longer. The economy of the Nazis was a very disastrous one. It was definitely some economy that was not sustainable. But then again, the Nazis, of course, knew that they wanted and would go to war, which is why they did not really need to care about an economy, because a war economy lives from plundering and from the conquest that it does, and not just from an actual, you know, economic welfare. Unions banned. Trade unions are banned in Germany. They are replaced by the DAFO, and there you go. German Labour Front, created and headed by Robert Ley. Indeed, that is exactly what I meant. I didn't actually see the newspaper headline there, but they established this parallel society, and I think it was a complete upheaval, a complete uprooting of you know, worker movement that had existed in Germany for a long time. I mean, Karl Marx was a German. He published the Communist Manifesto in 1848, 1849, to, you know, for the workers' revolution back in the day. Or, well, not the workers' revolution. It was more a general revolution, but he wanted to obviously use it for his needs, you know, as everyone wants that has an agenda and an ideology. And the movement, and the SPD in particular, were all very old, but the workers' movement in Germany at the time of the Nazi takeover was incredibly split. You know, first the USPD split off when the SPD said yes to the Burgfrieden, so to the decision that even the parties that are not in government should back the Great War, because now everyone has to be patriotic and whatnot, and the USPD did not support that. But there was a very long history of the workers' movement, which was meant to be shattered entirely under the Nazi regime. And the thing about it is that, you know, it worked very well. I mean, again, I don't want to repeat myself too much. We've talked about this a lot when it comes to the change of the laws and the change of the mentality and the change of the organizational form and the way it, you know, was eaten up. Aircraft named Hindenburg. Göring names Junkers D-2500 Hindenburg Aircraft and founds the Reichsluftschutzbund, Reich Air Defense Association. I'm not fully sure they reinstituted. Did they reinstitute the overall draft in 1935? I think they did, right? But I think this is the beginning of the breach of the Treaty of Versailles' limitations to the German armed forces. I think they were allowed to have, like, honestly, I don't want to go into any numbers because I'm not sure about the numbers anymore, but was it just like 100 planes or something? And they started to undermine it in many different ways. At our meeting, Arthur Friedrich is seething. I swear to you, the fire at the Reichstag was the biggest gift the Nazis could have hoped for. What do you mean? Arthur continues, they're blaming the Communist Party, whom they've been enemies with forever, and now they have the excuse they need to just round them all up, including my own father. I think he is a Catholic, right? But, I mean, his father could definitely be a communist. Can we help? Is there something we can do to help, I ask him. I need a lawyer for my father. In prison? But that costs money. I'll give you money, I guess. I'll help you with that, I say. I probably would not need to do that, because our morale is very high. But I was hoping... Oh, it actually didn't do it, huh? I was hoping that Arthur would, like, get a +5. Sometimes that pops up here. And I was hoping that the +5 would mean that, you know, if he were to get captured, that he wouldn't go against us. How much money do we have? 14, come on. Can't do anything with that. Could steal funds, I guess. What do we need? Strength and secrecy. We're just not that good. Add strength and secrecy, you know that? Look at this, Jesus Christ. I think I can't buy any paper. Even though, of course, I need paper. We're gonna go and we're gonna make as much money and members as possible. And then next week we strike, we make paper, and we get paper, then we do that. So in 3 weeks, we should be able to do one of these important missions. I was good at this, right? Who was better than me at this? Can't remember. Arthur? No. I swear to God, someone was better. No? This is good enough, honestly. Actually. No, look at this. Yeah, you definitely want to go with that, I guess. What else we got here? This just recruits some people from the Christian community. This is new. Meet with the conservatives would give us smuggle books. Ooh. This is how you could also gain books, huh? But it costs so much. I'm not really interested, I must admit. Because we can make our own books. Wait, can we? Print leaflets? But yeah, we can print our own books. We just need more papers. Yeah, stack of paper, we need 6. I think a high priority definitely now needs to be to make money. The more money we make, the more books I can buy, and the more books we can buy, of course, the better we get away with it. I think I'm gonna send you there on your own. I don't know, do you want to try this? I feel quite intimidated by the threat of this, I will tell you, but I think it's just so high. You know what, I'm gonna try it. Listen, if this goes wrong, we'll see where it goes, okay? Look at that. We have the social contract. Oh, wait a minute. This actually saves it as a contact, huh? Will be able to help us later. Which one was this? This was just one of these, right? Like, meet an academic. Could that be the same? What is this? Red herrings. If we can get the authorities on the wrong track by distracting them, we could give our group members some air. This has to be a collective thing, right? Where everyone gets... loses heat. Alright, you know what? I'm gonna take the heat. I'm gonna try to get some funds from the SR. Probably a big mistake. Okay, we lost 3 supporters. That's fine. Oh god, I'm worried about the SR situation. Arthur Friedrich visits the... Oh no, of course it went wrong. I'm gonna enforce. Alright, they calmed down. Very nice. Not that much money. Not that much money, I gotta tell you. Not as much as I would have wanted. Alright, we did this. That is a good amount of money. Okay. We are a bit more free. If we get even money here, please. Come on. Of course. I'm gonna hide. Yes! Okay, very nice. That is so much money. Very, very nice. What is this? What's the game doing? Oh. Okay, an event. As I cross the Schlossbrücke on a rainy late Wednesday night, I hear an angry voice shouting. Wait a minute, I'm gonna turn down the volume a tiny bit. An angry voice shouting through a loudspeaker and a huge cheering crowd. It seems to be coming from the Opernplatz. Let's go there, yeah, let's go there slowly. The scene is immense. Thousands of people are listening to the rantings of Joseph Goebbels, the new Minister of Propaganda, with rapt attention. That is actually like a distorted version of him speaking in the background there. At least I think so. The era of extreme Jewish intellectualism is now at an end. The breakthrough of the German Revolution has again cleared the way on the German path. The future German man will not just be a man of books, but a man of character. Let's scan the crowd, I think. Or actually, it's moving closer. As I slowly move through the crowd, I suddenly realize I've worked my way into a group of brown shirts. I can hear my heart pounding in my ears as one brown shirt raises his voice. Or the fatherland. I'm not gonna say that. All of their right arms rise in a single swift motion into the salute. I'm gonna take a sharp breath. I'm not... Please, don't make yourself... Come on, man. You're in a group of brown shirts while they burn books. I don't think we need to get into trouble here. The one closest to me turns and frowns. What are you sneering about? This is a glorious night. Are you some communist or a filthy Jew? He growls at me. I'm German. Just like you, I shout back. The brown shirt continues to bark at me. If you support this great land and the purification of the German spirit, then join in the salute. This glare tells me that this is a test. He turns and shouts to his companions. I'm gonna try to get away here. I decide to disappear quickly into the crowd while his back is turned. Luckily, he's too preoccupied to bother finding me. Let's scan the crowd. I do think it's him, his voice, yeah. There are thousands gathered here at the Opernplatz. Some chant slogans, a group of students to my right break into song. Various angry shouts can be heard from the crowd. No to decadence and moral corruption. Down with the Jewish intellectualism. I'm gonna keep moving here. Goebbels joins in, booming over the microphone. Yes to decency and morality in family and state. I consign to the flames the writing of Heinrich Mann, Ernst Gläser, Erich Kästner. They got rid of so many writings. Well, it was indeed, and I think this is actually, I'm amazed by this scene. I've seen some weak points so far in this game already. The particular one was the modern references that were strewn into one scene, and that was the weakest point for me personally. But other than that, it was a fairly good scene, and I think this scene perfectly captures how much of a spiritual notion came with the entire idea of National Socialism and with the so-called rebirth of the German people. The spiritualism is something that is often overlooked. It is seen as this ruthless and radical ideology, but most people viewed it as giving them sense for their lives. And think about it, in 1929 you had a crisis that brought families, entire families, into absolute poverty that made it look like they would never have a life that they could look forward to. There was no light at the end of the tunnel. And this ideology captured what they wanted. What they wanted was meaning. What they wanted was a path forward. And I'm impressed. I have to say, I am impressed by how well this is captured here. The figures of the writers were nothing more than the spiritual enemies, much like you would in religious terms would, for example, say the devil, the demons, whoever, you know, comes to possess you, the sinful life. The same way was done to the writers. It did not really matter who those writers were to the crowd, to the Nazis. I mean, to the Nazis, of course, there were people that actually followed the ideological idea on a rational level, but on an irrational level, it did not matter. It was a quasi esoterical experience. Flames? Flames. And this is so loud. Let me just turn this down. This is incredibly loud. Still very loud, it appears. We're gonna... I hope it's not as loud for you, and that you can actually hear me. Would be a shame if not. Just quickly do something here. Why is it so loud? Well, I'm gonna put you down even further then. Yeah, there you go. This looks good. There's an immense pile of books in the center of the plaza, perhaps tens of thousands of books, ablaze in a bonfire. That's when I realized what this is. This is the action against the un-German spirit announced by the German Student Union back in April. It's a book burning, a huge one. How can there be so many supporters of Nazism? Do they even realize what they're doing? Nearby, a group of students breaks into a chant about German purity and nausea creeps into my stomach. The German student associations, historically, have been very nationalistic. This started, of course, in 1815 and carried on throughout the 19th century because right after Napoleon was ousted in Germany, the beginning of the notion, or the understanding of the notion of a German nation began to take form, and it was primarily pushed, of course, by people that were younger. As it happens, new movements oftentimes find their strongest and most vocal supporters in younger people, because that is just where the action comes from. Everybody else is mostly arranged to the status quo, and they were very involved in it, no doubt about it. It was always a factor that went into student unions in Germany when it comes to, you know, being more on the nationalistic side of things. A sharp-faced man with sad, penetrating eyes glares at me with a side eye. You don't look well, friend. Why aren't you joining the chant? He remarks quietly. There's a hint of irony in his voice. Maybe he sympathizes with the resistance? I don't know. Let's see. Why aren't you joining the chant? I reply. The tiniest hint of a smirk creeps across the corner of his mouth, then sadness draws over his face as his gaze turns to the fire. His wet eyes reflect the dancing flames. He reminds me of someone I know. It's enough for me to attend the destruction of my own work. To celebrate it would be too self-deprecating, even for me. His voice is soft, resigned. Wait, what? I stare at the books, then at him, mouth agape. Are you? I stutter. He holds one hand out and purses his lips to shush me. I regain my composure. A half smile grows below his sad eyes. But what are you doing here? I whisper. You know they had to ask the firemen to douse the books in petrol? Leave it to the Nazis to schedule a book burning in the rain. He chuckles. We have to fight back. We have to do something. We have to fight this. I whisper with a tone of urgency. The man turns and faces me directly. I recognize him now. My friend, not long from now, this whole sad spectacle will be over. He tilts his head and pauses. And I will write a novel about it. You're Erich Kästner, the writer. One of the students has been staring at us and cries out, It's him! Kästner! Erich Kästner! We should leave now. You know what? I will distract him. But you should really leave now. Pornographer, another one shouts. The author is suddenly aware of the danger he's in and quickly disappears into the crowd before things get worse. I pick up a notebook that must have fallen out of his pocket. Erich Kästner lost his notebook during the book burning at the Opernplatz. We should bring it to him. Oh wow, we are actually going to interact with well-known personalities. That's interesting. I'm very, very interested where this goes. It was also very interesting to see the direct connectivity to historical characters in We the Revolution, so I am interested in seeing where this goes. I walk home in a daze, seeped in the smell of smoke and the echoes of slogans and chants ringing in my ears. I will never forget the dancing flames reflected in Kästner's eyes as he watched his own books burn. It is, I think, it's one of the saddest angles to see how many people that were associated with Germany and were willingly associated with Germany because of being Germans, of course, were being pushed out. And this does not only begin with the German writers, but this also continues over the Jewish soldiers of World War I that believed that since they served Germany, that they were truly German. And all of a sudden the Nazis came and took that privilege from them. At the end of the day, I think it is one of the saddest histories because, or one of the saddest stories, the way people that believed to be a part of this society all of a sudden were everything but exactly that. And many of them believed for a very long time that they were a part of that society. Most notably, again, the soldiers that served in World War I and were no longer treated as the war veterans, as heroes for the people, as heroes for the state, that were treated as aliens, as parasites, despite them always wanting to be identified, oftentimes being very conservative, being very much on the party line when it comes to conservative, to nationalistic topics, and then they were ousted. It's not entirely unique to Germany. If you've ever heard of this, even before World War I, you had the so-called Dreyfus scandal. I hope that I pronounce that name correctly. Which was in France, where essentially there was a bit of a scandal because, a huge scandal for the Republic, where they were going against a Jewish soldier inside of the French army for anti-Semitic reasons. It is a very complex issue, yet again. But the disenfranchising of these minority groups for populist, for ideological reasons, it is something that was incredibly present at the time, not just in Germany, but it took its most extreme forms inside of Germany, indeed. When it comes to the European scene, I want to limit it there because there is obviously a lot of persecution throughout the world, at all times, really, even today. But, you know, just to put it into the frame of history here, I think that was one of the saddest chapters of history, because you had people walk into hell thinking that they were safe, that there was no hell for them, that there was salvation, that they could make it through not just the war, but also the regime, and if possible, you know, make it even if the regime were to win, because the regime would never harm them, right? Because they were a part of this society, but they all of a sudden were nothing but expelled. Book burning. Achievement unlocked, okay. Got morale, we lost some supporters. Public book burning. NS students burned thousands of books of Jewish and dissident writers and all books from the library of the Academy for Sexual Research. The death of intellectualism was something that was absolutely necessary for Nazi Germany. They also, and I don't think that this is actually that well known, I mean the persecution of Poles and of Polish Jews, I think, is something that is generally very well known during World War II. But when the Nazis took over Krakow, they assembled all of the intelligentsia, so all of the leaders of the Polish state and of the Polish nation, and said, gather up in the University of Krakow, we're going to talk about the new order that we have prepared for Poland. There is a future. And everyone that attended was immediately jailed, was immediately thrown into the camps. It was something that was very well thought out. There was a clear plan there, a clear idea of what to do to destroy the very core of a nation that they no longer wanted to exist. And it was terrible, and it was terribly efficient in the way they did it. As, again, as satirical, as emotional much of the Nazi ideology was, it was also incredibly ruthless and efficient. Of course, that comes as no surprise, but Krakow and what happened in Krakow after it was taken over, it was an absolute disaster for the Polish nation that the German army and the German special forces did to the Polish nation there. It was just incredible. And same thing happened, of course, years earlier in 1933 inside of Germany itself, where the entire intelligentsia, the entire leadership, the entire moral and cultural leadership was taken apart in order to establish a new one. Attack on Berlin Academy. Outraged Nazi students storm the Berlin Institute for Sexual Science and loot its library. SPD executives go into exile. Due to the political situation, 6 members of the SPD party executive decide to leave Germany and work from abroad. Among them are Hans Vogel and Otto Wels. Very, very important SPD leaders. At a meeting, Arthur Friedrich speaks. I didn't tell you about any of this, but a few weeks ago, my grandfather Heinrich died. He was a good man. Well, today I got a letter from his lawyer telling me I inherited some money from him. Our condolences. And we hope the money will be of help to you and your family. My family will need the money. Thanks. Alright. Arthur lost a relative there. Level up. Oh, wait a minute. Oh, okay. Interesting. We're gonna level up here, I think, and then we're gonna call it for today. Oh, I did not know that is what that level means whenever we look at something. Where do I... Am I blind? Ah, there you go. Oh, okay. What would I like you to be better in? I think secrecy, right? If we have an expert in secrecy, that would be good. I could become an expert in strength. I think I should do strength, yeah. Alright, okay. We're gonna do some risky stuff in the next episode. But for now, thank you so much for tuning in. This one is only just starting out. I hope that we can fulfill some of the major missions here. I did read that you don't actually need to do any of them really if you want to progress and go through the story, but I would like to go through with all of them if possible. And oh, these are all the levels, huh? Are we all just level 1? Seriously? I suppose so. But it is good that we leveled up here. Definitely very, very good. Okay, thank you so much for tuning in, and I want to thank the members of the channel that are making these videos possible. Thank you the Barons, Aaron, Stefan, the Richest T, Snywolf, Emma Mamello, and Ixum the Naughty. Then the Counts, Suspicious Nakia, Malik 2, and Shifty. And third, of course, the Dukes, Benedict, Nathan, Knight of Squires, Kenneth, Lexter, Roboman, My Dad Left Me at Arby's, and Eric and Aiden. Thank you so much for supporting the channel directly. I will see all of you in the next episode later. Alligator.